And good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome in to the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe. Back with you folks tonight as we got our internet back to full strength after a pretty rough day yesterday here in Central Hub due to a very spotty internet connection yesterday, folks. With that, though, welcome in, folks, though, to tonight's edition, though, of WNBA 365 Olympics Central, recapping the closing point now of group play for the 2016 Rio Olympics. Good evening, folks. Alongside for right now, Crystal Thomas joining us up in Los Angeles. We will be joined, though, momentarily by Tanisha Stewart, also up in Los Angeles, and, of course, Cam McClurg back with you folks here from Studio 171 in San Diego. Crystal, good to see you tonight. Again, some more great action. Now we're getting ready to move on to the pass-through play now towards the next rounds of the Olympic women's basketball tourney. Other than that, though, how's it going tonight? And like normal, good to see you.
Hello, it is going pretty well tonight. How are you?
Doing fantastic and good to hear. Of course, folks, like normal, Facebook and Twitter wide open for you folks. Of course, so hit us up on Facebook over at facebook.com/WNBA365 or hit us up on Twitter at WNBA365, at Calimac3, at Pup1010, or at ShortyMamba24 with the hashtag WNBA365. Or if you are viewing us live tonight on the program, hit up the live chat box and we'll get to your commentary when we have a break in the action. With that, Crystal, 3 more games to discuss here this evening. Here tonight, of course, with the group phase starting to kind of fizzle out here towards the end. First game up is Turkey and Belarus, and Turkey is able to get by Belarus today. Pretty thrilling matchup today, 74-71, a final for Turkey over Belarus earlier on this morning. Looking over some of the box score and the notable performances tonight. First and foremost for Belarus, Lindsey Harding, 17 points, leading the way for the Belarus side in the losing effort. And for Turkey, again, Laura Saunders again with 22 points. The second league scorer behind Yilmaz with 26 for Turkey in their victory today. Both teams hovering around 50% from shooting today. From the field today, both teams roughly at 51.1%. Belarus shot 51.2 today. And again, very even matchup, both teams. As I said, again, Belarus led for 21 minutes of play, while Turkey led for 14:54 and counting. But again, Turkey, more importantly, gets the victory, 74-71. And again, Crystal, a very close matchup here. Again, this was pretty much moving day, or pretty much elimination day for teams that had not won a game yet, or were playing pretty much for consolation prizes today. But again, Kate, a very good game to start off today's Olympic coverage. But your thoughts about Turkey's victory over Belarus again by pretty much by 3 points again. What do you think?
I thought Belarus. Wait, can you guys still hear me? Because my computer froze.
Mm-hmm.
Am I still good?
You're good.
You kind. I mean, you knew coming in that they were young in the Olympic tournament. Them not really having been there before, but I would have thought they would have been. It sucks that they're 1-3, I believe 1-4 or something like that. It was a close game. I mean, this was their game, and ultimately they lost it. It kind of like when they lost to France. I mean, it was such a close game for them, and they can't hold on to the end, and now they're done. I mean, they're pretty much out of this. So now it's just a vacation for them, and for them to just chill out in Rio. And I mean, but who really wants to just do that while you were there to win a medal, whether it be gold, bronze, or silver? But I guess for Belarus, we could say it was nice seeing you guys here, and good job, good effort, but unfortunately, no.
Crystal, I'm going to avoid what's been in the press, of course, what we've already heard already about women's college basketball and about Team USA already in Rio. But more so, again, we talked about Senegal again, more so being here, more so to kiss babies and shake hands and give hugs out to people. But again, though, a country though again that is developing talent though for 2018, 2020, so on and so forth. So Crystal, before we move on to Shorty, she just joined us here finally. But Crystal, I guess, where do you probably see Belarus though in 2018, maybe 2020 though for the World Cup, then also for the 2020 Tokyo Games?
Maybe they will make a better effort. I mean, Lindsey Harding's not getting any younger, and that's the guard that they're relying on right now. And I mean, if she's willing to come back and try to compete with them and for them, we'll see. But honestly, I'm not quite sure what their future holds.
Sure, as we go to you now. And by the way, Crystal, some minor technical glitches on your side. So if you want to come on, hop on and come on back in, that would be appreciated, of course, if you need to. But just some minor glitching there, but we'll get that fixed hopefully for you folks momentarily. But Shorty, as we welcome you and bring you onto the program again, Turkey over Belarus today, 74-71. Shorty, before we dive into both teams and your thoughts on both teams, how about your overall thoughts on the whole game? Again, a very interesting and very, very great finish for the first day of day 6 of the Olympics. What do you think?
Well, truthfully speaking, this is a game that I didn't get a chance to catch, but from looking at the box score, I mean, final score is 74-71. So Belarus, once again, in this competition, catch themselves in a close game that, unfortunately, they weren't lucky enough to pull things out. But just looking at some stats, the points, the field goal percentage was pretty even at 51%. Belarus shot just a little bit better at the three against Turkey, 41 to 31%. Free throws, 86 to 72, so still kind of even there. Rebounding, yeah, it was even there too. Now for the assists for Turkey, they had 21 assists, so that was definitely big for them. But just overall, I think they needed more from Yelena Yachanga because, as Crystal brought up, Lindsey Harden is not just only their best guard, but their best player on the floor, and they're going to need the others to step up.
And also, Shorty, echo a stat as well. I think Belarus, though, 13 turnovers will probably a contributing factor to the loss. Again, 13-6 in a turnover ratio for both teams, and also the biggest lead for both teams, guys, was 8. So really, no one got ahead more than 8 points in the game. It was both even, Steven, at 8 points for both teams on the biggest lead today as well. But again, Shorty, I know that we had already talked about Senegal enough already about them sort of being here, sort of like that, kind of like being a 16 seed in the college basketball tournament. Again, just a feel-good story that got to the Olympic Games this year. But Shorty, where would you probably say Belarus will be maybe within the next 2 to 4 years before we get back before we get to Tokyo in 2020? What do you think and why?
Their future is remain to be seen. I'm not sure if they will be strong enough to get back, to at least the Olympics. I'm not sure about the World Games, but the Olympic Games in 2020, I'm not sure because I'm not sure if Lindsey Harden will remain with the team, after, these Olympics concur.
And by the way, Crystal, the man in the box, Todd Mintz, wanted to tell you, Belarus finishes 1-3 in the Olympic group stage, just in case you were curious, or if you're keeping score at home. To Group A, guys, the next team, France and Brazil hooking up also from the Youth Arena in Rio. Boy, oh boy, guys, Brazil goes uno, dos, tres, cuatro, adios. 0-4 to end their tournament this year, losing by 10 to France, 74-64. Notable stats for the French side today. Sandrine Gouda, 17 points, the second highest leading scorer for France. For Brazil, as follows: Izzy Marquez Castro, 6 points today for her in the loss. Caruso dos Santos with 16, and Demarius Dantas with 21. Natalie Cojaldo, D and P today, and Erica de Souza with 12 points in the game. So again, Shorty, starting off with Brazil, I know that we've already touched base on this, but again, 4 consecutive losses to, again, end their tournament, and again, in their own backyard, Shorty, in their own country. Shorty, I don't know if it's more disappointment or more embarrassment, again, that the host nation goes out in this way. Again, 4 straight L's in group play. Shorty, overall thoughts on the whole game before we move on and talk about both teams. What do you think and why?
Well, sadly, I did not catch this game either, but from looking at the box score, I mean, when it comes to Brazil, they just needed more production. And as I said, the last show, they did not get, the production from the names, that they needed. The names I'm talking about is Izzy. So far, Izzy Castro Marquez has been I don't want to be mean, but just somewhat a disappointment. Well, not somewhat. She just overall has been a disappointment, in these Olympic Games for Brazil. And also De Souza. And sadly, she had, 12 points in this game. This was probably her best game in the losing effort for Brazil. But, they just didn't have enough people to step up. Dantas was consistent. Dos Santos was always solid, but they needed Izzy and De Souza, and they just didn't show up.
Again, Crystal, starting with Brazil again, 4 straight losses, 1, 2, 3, 4, uno, dos, tres, cuatro, barbecue, so long, na, hey, hey, goodbye again. But I think, though, as we say this again, we saw Izzy Marquez Castro play very well in spurts, but again, no one else really stepping up, backing her. Dos Santos, Dantas, even De Souza, Cajaldo, when she was playing, also had played well. But again, Crystal, what do you make, though, about Brazil's early exit, and above all, too, an early exit in their own backyard in Rio?
You know what? As a host team, can you guys hear me? I know I was having technical difficulties.
Yes, you're better now. You're good.
As the host team, I think you really want to try to put your country on your back, and that's a lot of pressure, especially for Brazil, who I think this is their first time being in there for basketball for women on the women's side, if I remember correctly. So, for you to be the host team and to not win any games, it has to be tough. It has to be rough on you. You've prepared for so long to finally get there. I mean, obviously they had an automatic bid because they are the host country, but you prepared so long to finally get your team there, and then you get there and you goose egg it out. And so I'm pretty sure for them it has to be very frustrating, and for the fans probably really wanted to see them go home or something. But the fans seemed very happy that the team was even there. I mean, after the game, the fans showed them so much love and support. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Brazil in 2020. But I don't know if Erica De Souza has enough to get back on that team. She's getting up there in age, and those knees aren't oiled quite the same. So, but it sucks to go 0-4, especially in your host country when you're trying to give it all that you can.
Crystal, I want to stay with you real quick, of course, with you and I again being two of the former athletes on our panel. Again, Crystal, as you go into like a big tournament that you're playing or something like this, of course, you go to a global stage, where the lights are on bright. And, say, like, you're hosting, the championship game or something like this. Crystal, in your mind, when you play in games like this, and you have the performance like Brazil did, again, you lose 4 games in a round-robin tournament almost with group stage. Pretty much, Crystal, when you go out like this, how much does it pretty much weigh on an athlete's mind when you go out like this in pretty embarrassing fashion?
I think especially because it's for your country, it probably has a lot of an effect, especially for the ones who aren't coming back to WNBA after the Olympics is over. The ones who are coming back to WNBA, it sucks that they didn't win a medal, but they still have a season to look forward to, whereas the ones who are coming off the Olympics seasons probably don't start yet, so they're going to be bummed out about that a little bit. But, I mean, it just sucks. You get as far as you get. You're like, one of the best 12 teams to get in that tournament, and you go there and don't play as well as you can or where you think you can. So I think for a while this Brazilian national team is going to feel some type of frustration, but I do believe we will see them again.
All right, I got some keyboard warriors I gotta talk to in the chat box first. A couple comments, guys. We'll get to some comments as we get back to action here. Christy Wilson chimes in to say, "Hey guys." It also says Brazil had to be heartbroken over the loss. She says, "I feel bad for them." It also says, "Hopefully Brazil will be better in 2020." And the man in the box, Todd Mintz, says about France. He says France, in his mind, very average. He does like the point guard play, and also the backups can knock down threes. A little bigger and more physical. A little bigger and more physical player is also a nice contrast. In regards to Brazil, he says only Dantas has been a consistent for Brazil in her performance. The coach cannot do anything, but the poor outside shooting is also rough. They have been very bad at defending the three-pointer, and it hurt them once more. He also says, in regards to 2020, guys, he says Brazil will need to develop younger players and talent for 2020 as well. But again, France beats Brazil 74-64, and again, Brazil fizzles out again, going 0-4 and is already eliminated from contention into the medal and knockout stage. Next game, guys, from Group A, barn burner game, thrilling game today. The Aussies and Japan hooked up Australia edges Japan 92-86 in a thrilling matchup. Led the night by a 33-15 fourth quarter that sees the Australian team advance to the next round. Behind Ramu Tokashiki's 23 points for Japan, and for Australia today, Leilani Mitchell with 18 points, Penny Taylor with 13, and guys, Liz Cambage, 37 points in the victory for her today. Also scoring today was Erin Phillips with 6, and Mariana Tola with 10. Kayla Francis George with a DNP for the Australians today. And also a pretty good stat to note, guys, as well. The Australian team shot 58% from the field, Japan shooting less than 50% from the field in this game. And also, guys, I should mention too, but Australia only led for 5 minutes and 48 seconds and still picked up the victory over Japan today. So, Shorty, for Japan, that's 2 pretty tough losses to swallow in my mind, again, is they had leads up until the third quarter. The fourth quarter hits, and then the wheels fall off the bandwagon for the Japanese side. Again, playing against the very experienced, well-oiled Australian team, you cannot afford to let that lead slip away, and the Australians made them pay for it with a 33-point fourth quarter, and also Cambage a game-high 37 for her in the game. Shorty, how about your thoughts about Japan, again, letting another game go away like they did the previous day when they played last time?
Yes, I know Japan got to be kicking themselves because they were up at one point by 16 points against one of the best teams, in this competition, and they lost it. They squandered the lead in the last minute, and Tokashiki, 23 points, 8 rebounds, 9 points, 11 rebounds for Yoshida, but they weren't efficient. Both of them were in negative efficiency. So, but even with that, they still, had Australia on the ropes. But that's how, it differs from a veteran team versus a team that's up and coming. Even though Australia was down, they didn't, get choked up or whatever one bit. They just rode it through and rode it to the end, and they sealed the victory.
Crystal, again, this is now officially a deflating loss for the Japanese side. Again, this is back-to-back games. They have carried a monumental lead into the fourth quarter and have succumbed to perhaps a better experienced team. But again, that's something though that cannot happen though at any point. And Todd Mintzler, guys, is bringing up a pretty good stat. Australia, a 32-9 run to put this game in the fridge for them and move them on to the next round. Crystal, in your mind, how deflating is this loss for Japan, again, seeing them concede a major lead in back-to-back games?
Well, first, from what I was reading, I think it was also deflating for Australia. Liz Cambage was saying how, yeah, they won, but the 37 points she had, she said she was not happy with that because of what happened for her in order to get that many points. So on one hand, I think it is deflating on Japan to give up such a huge lead, but on the other hand, it just lets you know that Australia probably got a little complacent. They saw Japan on their schedule and was like, oh, it's Japan. They're not, we can beat them. It's nothing. But apparently you just can't, in the Olympics, you just can't look at your schedule and say, oh, this is this team, this is that team. They're here for a reason. And Japan showed them, like, hey, we almost just blew an upset right now. We almost pulled an upset. I'm sorry. But ultimately, Japan, they're new to the Olympics, so I think with time they will be another team we will see. Obviously, with the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, they will be qualifying because that's their home country. But I wouldn't be surprised if Japan is an up and coming team that everybody should be worried about.
And Shorty, that does lead me now to probably our future picks to click. Basically, again. Where do you probably, again, Shorty, see Japan being in maybe between the next 2 to 4 years? And again, as Crystal said, again, they will get the automatic bid to the Olympics game with them hosting the games in Tokyo in 4 years. Where do you think they will be, though, perhaps in the next 2 to 4 years in your mind?
I think they'll definitely, be a big part of competition. I think they'll come in, in the 2020 Olympics, having this experience now, much wiser, knowing what to do. So I see them as a force in the upcoming next Olympics.
And Crystal, I think you probably touched base, but what do you think, though, about where Japan may be again in 2 to 4 years in your mind?
I think they'll be up and coming. I think you'll see them on the radar. I don't know if they will be like an Australia team yet, where you're just kind of totally afraid of them. But I think they are up and coming, and I think Japan has a chance.
So again, folks, to recap today's action, all of it in Group A today. Turkey over Belarus 74-71. France beats up on Brazil 74-64, and Australia comes back to beat Japan 92-86. All finals today in earlier Rio action in Group A. Guys, 3 more games, putting a final bow hopefully sometime soon on the up-and-coming group play stage for Friday, August 12th. 3 games tomorrow. Again, all times, folks, as noted, our Rio Standard Time. Tomorrow, of course, 8:15 a.m. Serbia and China. 11:30 a.m. Canada will take on the USA, and at 1:45 Spain will face Senegal. All 3 games in Group B play tomorrow. And again, you will be able to watch the Canada-USA game live in its entirety on NBC SN. Shorty, going around the block here, Serbia and China. Who do you got winning this game and why?
I'm going to give the first matchup to Serbia. I think, Serbia used the U.S., as sort of a measuring stick, if you say that they use them as a measuring stick to see, how far they can go and, how good they can challenge, other teams. So I think they'll take, somewhat, even though it was a loss, but they'll take, the confidence they had playing against USA and apply it to the game against China.
So 1 vote for the Serbian side. KT, what do you think?
I'm also going to go with Serbia. Serbia did some pretty good things against Team USA. They stunned them a little bit. They had a lot of people shaking in their boots. Not me, because I'm always telling people like, hey, stay calm, they got this. But I think Serbia is going to take this one, and I would love to see the Dobovic sisters get a little W for their team. So hopefully, I'm going to go with Serbia on this one.
I agree with both of you guys. I think that Serbia really used that U.S. game as a measuring stick. Like, okay, we're kind of there, but not quite there. But I think that they'll get it. That pending some big games tomorrow from the Dobovic sisters, maybe even from Jelena Milovanovic, that they'll have a chance. But we'll go with Serbia. Next game, guys, it is Canada and Team USA. This is, and by the way, guys, I'm just gonna say here, this game is not going to be like what we've seen from Team USA. I think, at least in recent games, this is going to be probably a much closer game. Probably a game though. Maybe sort of like a Turkey-Belarus game, maybe. I don't think it's going to be a whitewash by any means necessary. But, Shorty, what do you think, though? Do you have Team USA or our neighbors to the north of us? What do you think?
Team USA all the way.
1 vote for the U.S. side. Crystal, how about you?
Team USA, I mean, that young Canadian team is really great. But, I mean, I am from America, so I'm going to have to go with Team USA.
As much as I love, guys, trust me. I mean, I love Canada much like the next person. They are our friendly neighbors to the north of us. But again, I don't see this game being a blowout. I mean, I really think that Canada is probably going to hang with Team USA for at least the first half, maybe through 3 quarters. Maybe it'll be a dogfight to the finish. But I still see Team USA, not by a blowout means, winning this game tomorrow over Canada. It's going to be a very good one to watch, though, between pretty much by both ends of North America, between Team USA and the Canadians again, which is going to be another great game to be played between these 2 great nations coming up pretty soon. And of course, guys, the last game tomorrow will be Spain and Senegal, 1:45 Rio time. Shorty, what do you think and why?
I'm going with Spain on this one.
1 vote for Spain. KT, what do you think?
You know what? Unfortunately we've all seen what Senegal has become. But I'm going to go with Senegal because I think I hope they can get a W. I would love to see them do something. I think their country would love it. So let's put their country on the back, Senegal, and I'm going to go with y'all.
All right. So Crystal's going to be on an island. We're going me and Trey will go with Spain. But hey, Senegal, we love to see you guys get a victory. Really uplift your spirits, uplift your entire country, of course. So we'll see how it goes with tomorrow's. But again, folks, 3 games tomorrow. But again, Serbia, China, 8:15. Local time, Canada, Team USA, 11:30, and Spain, Senegal, wrapping up Friday's games back here at 1:45. Again, all 3 game times, again, as normal, are Rio de Janeiro times. And by the way, to answer a question at top put in the chat box earlier, you can find the box scores, folks, on FIBA.com. And underneath go to FIBA.com and click down on the drop-down menu. You should be able to find Rio 2016, and you can go and find all the box scores at FIBA.com for all the latest news about the men's and women's basketball tournaments going on in Rio de Janeiro at this point in time. With that, guys, of course, more stirring of the pot with the press towards the U.S. women's national basketball team, of course, with the lopsided victories that they have won and played already with the 3 blowout victories that we've had. So, Shorty, I know we've already heard the story once with the UConn women, but Gino Ariema pretty much said it right, though, pretty much, and I believe it's Sue Faber just put this out a few minutes ago earlier on Twitter, but I cannot find it now. But, of course, Shorty, I mean, at this point, you know, I know that we are still not immune to what we have seen or we've had to read or hear about in regards to all the nonsense about the U.S. women's national basketball team blowing everybody out so far in these Olympic Games. So, you know, I guess, Shorty, and I know, of course, you know, Diana Taurasi had I guess kind of ruffled some rowing fan feathers with her smarky remark about the blowouts. But I believe, though, Shorty, that she's right, though, is that it's like now you don't know what to say anymore about these women's basketball games being out of control with the scores, at least. And also, Shorty, it's not just Team USA half the time. Sometimes it's other teams also doing this too, and I don't see the big problem. And this is the quote, by the way, from Coach Gino Ariema from Sue Faber from Hoopism on Twitter. Gino's quote reads, guys, quote, "We live in that Trumpian era where it's okay to be sexist," close quote, Gino's latest remarks in The Guardian online. So, Shorty, what, I guess, do you make about this? I know we've already heard this once with the UConn women's basketball team, and now we're hearing this with Team USA's women's national team. But, Shorty, at the same time, though, in my opinion, is that we don't hear this, though, about USA women's soccer. We haven't heard this about USA gymnastics. We haven't heard this about USA field hockey or even beach volleyball. We have not heard about these other sports in the Olympics or not even in the Olympics. Have we not heard these similar stories about Team USA showing off their dominance? I mean, are we supposed to, you know, go out there and intentionally lose games to make these countries feel better, Shorty? Or should we just not allow our country to go and compete in these Olympic Games to appease all these media folks that want to, you know, continue taking shots at, you know, at pretty much every U.S. sport because we pretty much are vastly superior. So Shorty, I really just don't get this anymore. I know we've already dealt with it once with UConn women, but again, Shorty, what are your thoughts, I guess, though, about what we have seen and heard so far in regards to specifically the USA women's national basketball team again and their lopsided affairs so far through their first 3 games of group play?
I completely think it's a bunch of nonsense overall. I mean, what is women's USA basketball supposed to do? You know, are they supposed to lose? Or are they supposed to purposely somehow make the games closer, you know, to even out the competition? No, that's not their jobs, and that's not what they're in the Olympics for. They are in these Olympic Games to win, and regardless if it was a close margin or a blowout, as we have seen so far, that's what, you know, they're supposed to do. They're supposed to win. So it doesn't matter whether they're blowing out teams and, you know, not making the games close or whatever the case may be. That's not what they're there for. They're there to win at any cost. And yeah, it is a bunch of hypocrisy as to why are they the only ones being questioned about this. You know, USA men's in their earlier games for their basketball team weren't asked these questions, and the only reason why their games are a little close now because, you know, they are running into you know, almost, I wouldn't say evenly leveled competition, but, you know, they're running up against good teams. Venezuela, you know, was a good team, and also, you know, Australia. The Australian men's team is also a team that you can't look past by. So that's the only reason why there weren't any, you know, big blowouts there. But as for the USA women's, it's a bunch of nonsense. They are doing what they are supposed to do, and that's winning.
You know, Crystal, you know, again, I know that this was more a bigger problem, though, in regards to a writer from the Boston Globe throwing UConn and women's basketball under the bus earlier this past college season about the scores being out of control. But, Crystal, you know, again, you know, why is it always women's basketball always put underneath or put on the back burner, or at least in this case, put on, you know, being burned at stake, when you also have USA men's basketball blowing teams out, you have USA beach volleyball blowing teams out, USA field hockey is also 4-0 to start off their campaign. Team USA women's soccer, of course, beat Puerto Rico 10-0 in an exhibition game before Rio this season. So, you know, Crystal, I just don't see why we always have to start controversy and why women's basketball has to always be on the front page in regards to it being a negative side effect for Rio, for the Olympics, or for any international sporting competition. I mean, this is this should be the only time that I would at least hope that everyone could at least cheer for U.S. women's sports for at least 3 weeks out of the year, but yet we still have people saying, get back in the kitchen, these games are ridiculous, why is the score always out of control? And at the same time, Crystal, are we supposed to root for our country to win these games, or continue to be what it is right now, that's still throwing our female athletes under the bus for it being a female sport? And I don't really know what else that we can really say about this. But I know it's been a growing problem that was of late, but again, Crystal, maybe you ought to just, I guess, maybe to kind of like, appease all the female sports haters and those people, is, maybe we should just keep all of our women athletes out of Tokyo and just let them watch the men, because to appease them, because even if that was to happen, Chris, we still have Team USA men's basketball, beating teams by 75 points in the first game of a qualifying round matchup. So I guess, Crystal, what are your thoughts? Because I think you probably have a better idea than we do in regards to this incident, in regards to, again, more media controversy surrounding USA women's basketball. I'll do it being by the final score on the scoreboard and in box scores.
Because honestly, they're women, and naturally, women, quote unquote, aren't supposed to be better than the men, and because the women have been better than the men for so many years, they're afraid. Women's basketball is coming up in the world, whether people want to admit that or not, and clearly you can see. In the WNBA, the Olympic talent, overseas talent, whatever, you can see that women's basketball talent, as far as IQ, is getting better than the men's. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, a lot of the women's game is based on IQ and fundamentals anyway, where a lot of the men's game is just based on, I'm going to cross this guy up and I'm going to dunk on you. I mean, half the people who can jump out the gym can't shoot a layup, can't shoot free throws, whereas in the women's game, I mean, yeah, obviously there's people who can't do either one of those in the women's game as well, but you'll see a lot more women who are more technically sound and fundamentally sound. And honestly, I just think it's the fact that they're watching, clearly, if they're talking about it, they're watching it. I mean, they can't say that they're not watching. It's like you get a hater in a YouTube comment and they're like, oh, this video is stupid. But the thing is, it's like, you came here. Nobody's forcing you to watch women's basketball in the Olympics. There's a million other events that are going on, but they just want to pick Team USA because Team USA is dominating this team by like 40 and 50 points. Whereas they could watch gymnastics, who's doing well. They can watch volleyball, who's doing well. They can watch tennis, but they choose to watch women's basketball because, let's be real, that has an interest. Everyone wants to see what Team USA is going to do, whether they like it or not. And they keep coming back. So honestly, I think they're lovers of the sport, but they're trying to be undercover with it because it's women's basketball, and for some reason, men watching women's basketball is not cool and it's embarrassing. Whereas if they were just regular sports fans, they would realize there's just nothing wrong with that, and they're just watching greatness unfold.
And again, Shorty, this is like the only time of the year where I would, at least hope and pray that, for 3 weeks or for a few weeks out of the year, every 4 years, that we can go at least this time, X amount of time, without having something like this come up, in regards to that we should all be on our couches in prime time on NBC and cheering for Team USA, regardless if it's male or female, whether it's, archery, shooting, basketball, or fencing, or even rowing, as DT, of course, is thrown up in the press's face again. But again, Shorty, I guess, what do you make about DT's comments, though, in regards, again, that, that she pretty much says that she doesn't know what to say anymore, and that if you don't like it, that you can go watch other Olympic events going on television or even on the live streams?
Well, everyone knows how DT is, and DT keeps it real, even sometimes to her own detriment. But in this case, she's keeping it 100% real, because from her and the players' perspective, Sue Bird touched on it as well, is that they're just tired of basically answering the same questions. Oh my goodness, why USA is so dominant? Why do the games keep being closed? You guys keep blowing out competition and things like that. But as I said before, I mean, that's what they are supposed to do. I mean, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to purposely, start losing within the games to make things interesting, or keeping the score close and things like that? That's not what they're set out to do. They were built and set out to dominate. So that is what they're doing, regardless of how writers or fans may feel. I mean, they're out to dominate. They're out to win gold.
Pretty much. And, Crystal, again, we know again that Donna Taurasi sometimes crosses that fine line sometimes in regards to her on-play demeanor, or even in this case again. And Christy Wilson is right, though. She keeps it real and she tells it like it is. And she's pretty much right again, that if you don't like watching us play, that you can go and watch other things and you don't have to, you don't have to watch us play, basically. That's why I admire Diana as a player. That's why I also admire having Todd Mintz aboard in the chat box, because they both tell the story like it is. They give their opinion, but also they're not afraid to stand up to you and say that, or shove it down your throat in regards to, how they feel about an issue. And that's why that I admire Diana Taurasi as a player, because of the way that she tells it in the media. But I guess, Crystal, what are your thoughts, though, again, about DT, pretty much like Christy Wilson said in the chat box, telling it like it is and how she keeps it real?
I mean, you're supposed to. You're supposed to. Honestly, why do you think Kobe was so good? He told it like it was. LeBron's starting to do that too. I mean, Diana Taurasi's been doing it. All the great players who know where they stand, they can say what they want to say and not care about it. Honestly, I don't think Diana Taurasi said anything wrong. I don't think it was a diss to rowing. I mean, she's just saying if you don't want to watch us win, watch rowing. Not saying that rowing is not an interesting sport, but she's saying there's a gajillion other things watching the Olympics. I mean, come on, track starts tomorrow. So if you really don't want to watch Team USA dominate, go watch Jamaica dominate in track. Sorry, Team USA. Jamaica's going to win a lot of track events. But, I mean, I'm just saying, she's not wrong. I mean, there's so many other things to watch. You can watch handball. You can watch golf. I mean, just find something else if you're going to complain about Team USA dominating.
With that, guys, move on now to some of the other events today. Of course, guys, history made in gymnastics today. More swimming going on today as well. Shorty, what can you say about other events today? Of course, we know Simone Biles again owning everybody in gymnastics today. Michael Phelps wins his 22nd gold medal today. Golf did get underway today as well. Shorty, what other events are we keeping an eye on today, though, as we move on here across the Rio Olympics? Again, a lot of great stuff today. But more so, I think gymnastics probably was the #1 seller for me earlier in the afternoon. What about you and why?
Yeah, gymnastics was definitely one of the events that I did watch, and it was the women's all-around individuals, and basically USA killed it. I mean, Simone Biles, she was dominant, even though she did struggle a little bit, on the balance beam. But when she did the freestyle, on the floor, my goodness, she was spectacular. And also, USA not only won gold, but won silver as well in the individuals. Her teammate, sorry, I forgot her name, but,
Allie Raisman.
Yeah, Allie Raisman. She was also just as spectacular. And for the USA to both take home gold and silver, oh my goodness, that was magnificent to see.
And Crystal, again, probably gymnastics was probably the big seller today on the NBC and Universal Family Networks. Again, we saw that. Of course, Michael Phelps winning his 22nd Olympic gold medal, probably in forever is going to be the greatest Olympian of all time in U.S. history for any sport. Beach volleyball still going strong as well. But Crystal, what events today other than basketball are you probably watching? I'm pretty sure gymnastics was topping your list as well. What do you think, though, and why?
As I like to call it, gymnastics. Gymnastics and swimming was awesome today, man. Especially, the first ever African American swimmer to win a gold medal. I mean, that was just fantastic. And I don't know if somebody saw my tweet earlier, but that's why I love sports. I mean, I love the storylines. I love what it brings. I love how it brings people together. And also, I didn't forget, Canada has won their 4th gold in swimming, and I know that's a record for them as well. So I'm not going to leave you Canadians out there. I love you, Canadians. Didn't forget about you guys. It was just so many records broken today. I mean, with the Canadian swimmer and her tying for first, I believe, it's just amazing. I mean, it's so many records on one night, and records with swimming, records with gymnastics, as I like to call it. I mean, I can't wait to see what records are going to be broken tomorrow during track, because I'm expecting at least 2 to 3 broken. But I mean, this is why I simply love sports, for reasons like this.
I love Canada because they invented hockey pretty much, and it'll be back in 2018 in the Winter Games in South Korea. So looking forward to that. But again, folks, a lot of great stuff today on the Olympic menu. Again, Michael Phelps again, as Christy Wilson said, Michael Phelps, aka the greatest of all time. She also says Simone Biles and Allie Raisman were awesome. And also, don't forget, guys, Fiji won their first medal today as well in men's rugby, and it was a gold medal for Fiji in today. So history being made there for the Kiwis down there. And also, by the way, Crystal, Eric Nemchok says hi.
Hi. Oh my God. Hi.
So there you go with that one again. But again, folks, we'll have more about the Olympics, of course, tomorrow. But guys, I actually wanted to get to one more thing real quick. This happened earlier on in the Olympics, but it was also a swimming. It was also a swimming related news. The guys, Lily King, the day after winning her Olympic gold medal, beating a competitor for Russia, of course, guys, with a pretty sort of edgy, kind of on the borderline of part controversy, part true remark about pretty much saying, guys, in a nutshell, that she won the race clean in regards to, again, Russia was almost denied sending competitors to the Olympic Games this year, again, due to their doping history. Shorty, I was actually watching the ESPN LA 710 simulcast on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet with John Ireland and Ramona Shelburne. Basically, John Ireland said it right, but I believe, though, that until there is stricter punishment in sports, athletes will try their best and their due diligence to continue to beat the system and pretty much cheat to victory by taking performance-enhancing drugs. So, Shorty, I guess in your mind, and I know that this is kind of an issue more so in Major League Baseball, but probably can be an issue though in any sport in regards to HGH or public or performance-enhancing substances and drugs. But Shorty, do you agree though perhaps that until there's like stricter punishment for athletes, that they will continue their best to try and beat the system and continue to cheat to dope and continue their best to try to cheat for victory in regards to taking these substances that, again, are illegal in sports?
Yes, I definitely do think, they will continue. And also, I think it comes down to the committee as well. Sometimes there are some instances when it comes to different sports and different athletes where the committee will look the other way. I think that's one scenario in a situation that not too many people are talking about. And also, again, when it comes to these countries, trying hopefully for the athletes to get, any advantage as they can, will continue to allow it. The Russian Federation was allowing, this to happen in, their labs and things like that. So, yes, I think it will definitely continue as a lot of people, including, the Olympic Federation themselves, in certain instances, turning a blind eye to certain athletes.
Crystal, whenever I think about, Olympic Games and controversy, it's either been, maybe Team USA losing the gold medal in very controversial fashion to the Soviet Union back in 1972 in Munich, of course, with a pretty controversial late call there in that game. Maybe even, of course, what's happened in maybe recent Olympics. But I did, though, guys, see a story, though, on ESPN saying that a javelin thrower was just stripped of a gold medal, or a medal, I should say, from about 4 or 6 Olympics ago, maybe even recently, due to the IOC keep everyone's samples for 10 years after the games end to go back and do testing. They found something in the blood or the sample from this person, and they were stripped of their medal by the IOC. So, Crystal, do you agree, though, perhaps, that, again, up until there is a more efficient way to punish athletes for using these substances, will they continue their best to use these things up until there's more harsher penalties in all of pro sports and also the Olympic Games as well, in your mind?
Of course. I mean, like you said, there's controversy in every Olympic Games, whether it be with the location or whether it be with the athletes itself. I mean, they didn't even let all of Russia's athletes come. They were supposed to have about like 300 and something, but I believe they only let them bring like 2 something, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the exact number, but I mean, I do think they need to have harsher penalties. I'm actually surprised to let Russia come at all, but like Shorty said, I mean, it's Russia, and Russia, we already know how that country's ran, and they pretty much had their own lab. They were trading out urine samples for clean urine, I believe, is one of the things that was going on. But I mean, unless they have a stricter penalty and a stricter way they can test these athletes, it's gonna keep happening.
And by the way, another famous incident of doping, guys, not only Marion Jones a few years ago, but also Christy Wilson says remembers Ben Johnson doping in 1988 in the Olympic Games as well during that time. So with that, though, guys, we will wrap up for the evening, folks. Glad that you folks can stay with us throughout the night. Again, we'll come back hopefully fresh tomorrow night, maybe a late night show this tomorrow evening, but we will get you folks more coverage of women's Olympic hoops and also what's going on, those World Major storylines as well in Rio 2016. With that, though, guys, for KT and Shorty, Cal McClurgan standing signing off. Until tomorrow night, folks, have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thanks for stopping by and joining us here tonight, and good night. This has been the WNBA 365 Network. More to come tomorrow night, folks. Take care and enjoy the rest of your evening, and see you tomorrow. Good night and bye-bye.